We're going to change the order of presentations a little bit relative to what was in the program. So Jamie Burnett is going to be the last presenter. So Ipek Bilgen is the next one to give her a presentation. So she is a senior research methodologist in the Methodology and Quantitative Social Sciences Department at NORC at the University of Chicago. She directs web and emerging technology strategic initiatives at NORC. She is also responsible for overseeing AmeriSpeak, its methodological research. She has over a decade of experience in applied survey methods, and we're looking forward to her presentation. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Ari. Can you folks confirm whether you are seeing my slide?
We do.
Okay, great. Today, I will talk about various experiments we have implemented related to displaying cash via window envelope during mailing contact when recruiting to AmeriSpeak probability-based panel. But first, I would like to acknowledge my co-authors, David Dudwin, Rupam Singh, and Erlina Henderwan. So as we all know, pre-completion cash incentives consistently shown to increase response rates in surveys. But the value of pre-completion cash incentive decreases when a portion of the sample sees that recruitment mail as junk mail and discards without opening, so that cash goes to trash. There is also a myriad of literature related to the impact of various mailing contact strategies on survey response. Recently, we have been seeing exploration of displaying cash incentive via window, and we are seeing some mixed results in these recent studies. So that visible cash aims to separate survey invitation mailing from junk mail and encourage samples or sample members to open the envelope. Accordingly, we have implemented experiments with different interventions during AmeriSpeak panel recruitment to improve both overall recruitment yield and recruitment rate among hard-to-reach, hard-to-retain panelists. Specifically, our research questions were whether displaying cash via window envelope during mail contact increased recruitment rates in a probability-based panel. We also tested various window envelope placement options, whether you place that window on the front or the back of the window. We looked into various window sizes, small versus large. We also looked into various incentive amounts, especially pre-completion incentive amounts, as well as incentive placement strategies, so showing number versus face on the cash. We also looked into the optimal strategies for sample members who are reluctant to respond. And lastly, we get this question a lot: what about the potential mail theft and what to eliminate it? We looked into strategies to do so. We implemented accordingly an experiment to test this methodology during AmeriSpeak recruitment in 2021. AmeriSpeak recruitment uses an address-based sampling design, and mailing is the initial contact mode when inviting sample households to join the AmeriSpeak panel. So we have implemented these experiments using this mailing strategy when we sent out our recruitment package during day 5 after the pre-notification postcard. As you see, we also use phone and in-person recruitment, as well as FedEx recruitment strategies, but we specifically implemented this in the mailing, during that initial mailing. So just to give you a quick background, prior to 2021, our general mailing incentive strategy is that we sent 2 pre-completion and $2 pre-completion incentive, as well as $25 post-completion incentive. During 2021, we have implemented randomized experiments in sequential mailing replicates. So we did follow an iterative approach when designing each subsequent replicate. We did design the subsequent replicates based on our findings in the previous replicates. Various experiments that we have implemented are envelope window placement and design options. So we looked into front versus back versus no window. We looked into medium versus small window. We looked into various pre-completion incentive amounts, two $1 bill versus one $2 bill versus one $5 bill, post-completion incentive amount, 25 versus 50, and lastly, cash placement, making the amount versus the images faces on the dollar bills visible. So now the more interesting part, the results. So when we look at these experiment groups separately, we see that a mailing sent using a front window envelope to make the cash visible is 1.2 times more likely to convert a sample household member to an AmeriSpeak panelist than a mailing using windowless envelope. So we see that both using front and back window envelope were effective, though displaying cash via front window was slightly more effective than using back window. Interestingly enough, $5 non-contingent incentive improved the recruitment yield rate as well. I say interestingly enough because it improved more than $2 non-contingent incentive. Generally, we see a higher marginal increase with $2 non-contingent incentive in the literature for cross-sectional surveys. But I want to point out that panel recruitment is a different ask than cross-sectional surveys. That may be why we are seeing differences in these results. So we have seen overall a recruitment mailing sent with $5 non-contingent incentive was 1.46 times more likely to convert a sample household member to an AmeriSpeak panelist compared to $2. Not surprisingly, because this is very much in line with the literature, even with the cross-sectional recruitment to cross-sectional survey recruitment literature on incentives, we did not see a significant impact of the increase in the contingent incentive on overall yield rates. When comparing all experiment groups using 3x2x2 design and looking at these experiment groups separately, we see that $5 pre-completion incentive displayed through front window with the higher contingent incentive had the highest recruitment yield overall with 6.3% as compared to the $2 non-contingent incentive with no window with the lower contingent incentive, which was the control group with a yield rate of 3.3%. So we almost duplicated the recruitment yield rates in this initial mailing. When we look at both recruitment rates, but also cost ratio per recruited household, the winner was displaying $5 cash via front window using low post-completion incentive due to the price. So what about sample members who are hard to reach and more reluctant to respond, which are a very important group to all of us, as we have heard throughout this conference. So window envelope showing cash increased yield rates more among Hispanic, younger, and 50 and older panelists, so older panelists, as well as panelists with children in their households. The increase in non-contingent incentive was most effective among panelists who have less than high school degrees, Hispanic panelists, and panelists who are 50 and older. The increase in contingent incentive, interestingly enough, was most effective among minority populations, sample African-American and Spanish-speaking households. The increase in overall contingent incentive did not necessarily improve the yield rates among the other and majority of the hard to reach, reluctant to participate groups. In our subsequent replicate of mailings, when we experimented with incentive amount by window size, so we looked into a 2x2 experiment, we see that really mailing window size, which we theorized increases the visibility of the cache, really didn't have a significant impact on recruitment yield rates. When we experimented with incentive amount by window size, which was a 3x2 experiment, we see that $5 yields to significantly higher response rate than $2 non-contingent incentive overall. However, here is an interesting finding. Two $1 bill yield to significantly higher response rate than one $2 non-contingent incentive. We think that this might be because people think that when they are seeing the $2 through the window envelope, they think it might be fake money, as many people don't use $2 bill in their daily life. So people responded better to $1 bill, where $1 was shown through the window. Additionally, a mailing sent with the numeric side showing through the window was 1.4 times more likely to convert a sample household to a panelist as compared to a mailing sent with the face image showing through the window, which was also an interesting finding. Looking at the 6 experiment conditions separately, we see that the winner was $1.5 when we made the number visible. But when we look at the cost ratio per recruited household, we see that $1 where number is visible also was very cost effective. So if you don't necessarily have $5 to send in the pre-completion stage, if you are using this window envelope, we recommend using $1 where you make the number visible through the window. So quickly going through the results, results indicate significant improvement in recruitment response rate when cash was displayed through the window. $5 front window with lower post incentive amount group had the lowest cost per complete per recruit. Mailing window size, which increases the visibility of the cache, didn't have a significant impact. And a mailing sent with numeric side showing through the window was significantly more likely to convert a household than mailing sent with face image showing through the window. And lastly, I promised, what about potential mail theft? We have used USPS's track and trace service to track the recruitment mailings. And we see that majority, almost all of the mailings reach to the household successfully. So hopefully our results will shed light on future panel recruitment strategies and activities. And we are going to be using these results tailoring recruitment materials to varying subgroups as this may impact panel composition and retention. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. I already see many questions in the chat, but we're still first going to do Jamie Burnett's presentation, and then after that, we'll have plenty of time for discussion.